On the promotional team, you've chosen boxer. Why?
Why boxer? Because every other promoter out here is a scumbag. That's why. You know, you've got Frank Warren behind me, been lying and cheating his way through boxing for the last couple decades.
Wow.
Sued me for a couple $100,000 a few years ago, so obviously I was never going to go with him. You know, the guy's a scumbag. Kalle Sauerland, you know, had me locked up.
Speak up, I can't hear you.
Kalle Sauerland had me locked up in a terrible contract for the last few years, squeezing money out of me at every opportunity. Scumbag. Eddie Hearn, Frank Smith, you know, they did everything they could to try and make this fight against Conor Benn still go ahead.
Scumbag.
Still go ahead.
Why don't you fight Hamza Sherrod, scumbag?
After knowing that they, you know, that he was on steroids. Scumbags, you know. I would say the only promoter that I know for sure isn't a scumbag is His Excellency, Turki Al-Sheikh. You know, this is a man who isn't trying to take money from fighters. He isn't trying to use lawyers and accountants to lock fighters up in slave contracts. You know, he's a man of God. He's a man of religion. That's what's most important to the people of Saudi Arabia. He just wants to put the biggest fights on, the best events on, and pay fighters what they're worth. And as a fighter, you know, it's a blessing to be a fighter at this moment in time, because this is the first time we've ever had a promoter like this in the history of boxing. Oh, and, you know, Ben Shalom's a very cool guy too.
Chris Eubank made these comments at the press conference and he went viral automatically. He was posted on a lot of blogs, non-boxing blogs, and he was given a lot of praise for calling out these guys. So I would definitely say, yo, my man stood on business if he didn't take back the talk. Now, this is just to show you people how money runs things. Because listen, my man made those comments and within 24 hours, he apologized for them. And within 24 hours, Frank Warren, who previously went on TalkSport and said he was going to sue him, accepted the apology. People, this is all about money. Turk Al-Sheikh, which these men call His Excellency, it's about money. My man would have called them and said, listen, I don't care what beef you man have got. If you want this money, that beef gets squashed today. And I doubt it would have been Frank Warren who's getting kicked out of Ryder season, because he represents a much more important investment. Whereas Eubank Jr., yes, you've got a name, but really you're not fighting nobody though. So they don't really need you. They'll keep you in the mix, but they don't need you. So you've seen right there who's in control. Just like how now you're seeing Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn and Ben Shalom and all these men of pally. People, that's because the money is coming from a bigger bank balance. Take that away, it gets worse than what it was before. I keep telling people, you better hope Turk Al-Sheikh stays in boxing. Because if my man leaves boxing, it's finished. Trust me, if he walks away from boxing, it is finished. Because he's able to make these men correspond. He was able to stop that silly dispute. Eubank had that planned. He asked the Ade brother to ask him that question, because he knew he was going to answer it like that, because they buoyed him up. They put him on the bottom table and they're making him know, yo, you're a guest in this house. These men are spending crazy money. People, remember, I've heard the behind the scenes, you know, from a boxer's mouth, you know. From a boxer's mouth, I've heard the reality of how these men are spending bread. And people, it's very, very lucrative. It's very, very lucrative to be in Turk Al Sheikh's good books right now. So Eubank made them comments, but what I will say is bad man don't take back talk. He took back the talk. So that don't count because you took it back. Turk Al Sheikh is running this. And that shows you that. That shows you that. Eubank Jr. did all of that for nothing because you took back the talk. But I don't know. This Ryder season, like I said, it's all about promoting Saudi and getting Saudi seen by the masses. And they're doing a great job thus far. They're doing a great job. A lot of money's being spent. You know, this is a drop in the ocean to these men right now. But all I would say, folks, is you got to ask yourself the question, is it sustainable? You know, even Scrooge McDuck has to know when it's time to stop spending and not seeing a return. They're seeing a return right now because the return is the travel to Saudi. Travel to Saudi. People, don't listen to me. Go online and do your research. The travel to Saudi has more than tripled since all this has been going on. They have a long-term plan to turn Saudi into the new Vegas. It's going to, as long as they stay along this path, it's going to work. And I was watching them. You know what? Recommendation as well, people. Mr. McMahon on Netflix, the Mr. McMahon documentary. Watch that on Netflix. Very, very good breakdown about the origins of WWF, now known as the WWE. And people, look what happened. You only have to look at how they merged the UFC and WWE. They call it the TKO group. Money talks. So Eubank, really, you can't be giving speeches like that and you're fighting the kind of opponents you're fighting. Because one thing about Warren, I said this to man before. One thing about Warren, he don't lose in court. So you can say he's a scumbag, but clearly you've broke some sort of legal binding contract that he sued you and won. And the facts are, people, to how life's running in today's world, contractual agreements are the way to go in any type of business because people ain't going to keep their word. That's just how people are doing things in today's world. Back in the day, a gentleman's handshake, all of that, you could stand on it. You can't do that in today's world. You can't do it. 15 years ago in Birmingham, people, was a very, very different time to the Birmingham that we know today. Things got rough, people. Now, we were off the back of a lot of factories in the West Midlands closing. Now, these factories, people, were factories that a man's dad could go and work in. A man would finish school and go and work in there. A lot of people spent their entire career in this factory. So when this factory shut, it created a knock-on effect in some of the local Birmingham communities. A lot of people were out of jobs and a lot of people were desperate for money. Now, there was already a crime wave happening at the time. Street robbery was at an all-time high. Car theft was at an all-time high. B&E, which is the breaking and entering game, was at an all-time high. Even the West Midlands police, they couldn't control the city. Now, people used to rely on factory work. A lot of people were struggling to keep the lights on. That's how bad things got around this time. Now, there was one day that there was a conference. Now, this conference had came to Brum and they had put flyers all over the city and they were advertising a conference. Now, this conference aimed to teach you how to buy a property in just 4 hours. So it was teaching people in 4 hours how to buy and flip a property. Now, they were doing a special, and this special was £100. All you had to pay is £100 to go into this seminar and listen to this so-called property expert sell his course to you and allegedly teach you how to buy and flip a property.